So, being naked and unashamed, they say. Like, this is a good angle, so I was like, so I'm just gonna have a look at my notes. I'm just gonna let God guide me. What do I want is not what can I afford and what am I afraid of. I want to receive from sitting right here. I don't want to labor for things that naturally grow. I don't want to labor for things that naturally flow. And I know that God has poured his spirit on all humanity, and maybe I should make this kind of to him, to me, because I used to always make videos and never post them, but this one, it's like practice. Like, I always thought I had to post every video I recorded, but I didn't realize that when you record, it's already in the atmosphere. Even when you delete it, it's still there. And yeah, the cloud has no space. The cloud can't run out of space. It's just this technology is an illusion. Even as everything is listening to me, am I gonna be concerned about that and never move? I think I'm just afraid of being seen in a way that I don't want to be seen. So like, somebody perceives me, but they don't know me. So they have a perception of me, but they don't know, like, how they perceive me is completely wrong, kind of thing. The relationship that I have with Source, with the divine, is beyond calling it or him or her. He just is. And like, money is something that the divine never worries about. So when he's named me divine, I'm like, do you know how many things I've worried about? And he's like, yeah, because you didn't know what it meant to be divine. Divinely protected, divinely helped, divinely sustained, divinely maintained, divinely loved. Even my pain was divine. I all set it up for her. You know, I want an angel to knock on my door in human form and give me shrooms. And God shrooms at that. That angelic food, that manna. I want it to be almost like an everyday thing where but I also understand, my point is that I don't want to think small. I want to reach the heights of what I can, like the capacity of what I want, so that God can use that. Like, I want to give the universe something to work with, is what I'm trying to say. So if I had no worries and if I fucked the 3D and anything is possible and all it takes is my word, then I want the angels, my spirit guides, to knock on my door and give me a package that I should have gotten a long time ago, but I wasn't ready for it. There was a time where I put £20,000, like a note of it, under my doorstep. And I know that my mother saw that because she started putting up things around the house, but I took them down because it was a battle of altars and she hasn't questioned it since. So I have more power than I think. And I took that out of the doorstep because I kind of lost faith. I was like, I'm not gonna get 20,000 at my door. But if the 3D isn't real, then why wouldn't I get that? And then it felt like the universe was like, that's too small, that won't even cover your student loans. And then I started thinking, I want Vodafone to call me and be like, we're so sorry for like all of this, like everything's been paid for, you know, you have your unlimited data back, all of that. I want my Gmail storage to be paid for and to receive all the emails that I couldn't. I want to work at a weed shop in Thailand, and then from there create my own. Like, I want to be close with the manager and he tells me the ins and outs. I'm really like learning. I want to meet people who grow weed. I want to meet people who smoke weed. I want people to come to me. I've always been going to people, but not enough people have come to me, and it's my season to receive, to know that this is rest. And when Pastor Jerry said, like, in the next 7 days you'll remember this prayer, it's all about mindset. And now I fully believe that this is my day of rest, the 7th day when the Lord rested. And you know, we kind of woke up a bit later, we relaxed, like we watched like a couple do a Q&A, and it made me think that I can be specific about what I want, because in their 3D, all that toxicity, all that unreciprocated love, it doesn't exist. And they had a question, and it was like, what do we disagree about? And they were genuinely thinking about what they're disagreeing about. I was like, wait, what? You can have a relationship with somebody where you have to think about what we disagree on? As in, I'm thinking, what do we not agree about? And what's crazy is that my whole life, I could name everything under the sun that I've disagreed on with the people that I was so-called in love with. But it's that I had to experience pain, and at a depth that nobody else could experience it at. But Jesus kind of is like, you need to wrap it up now because I've suffered more than you. But he wasn't saying it in like a suffer Olympics. He was like, if you think that I don't understand what you're going through, that's not true. And I remember just Genesis 3 constantly in my head, like, who told you? Who told you that I'm not there? Who told you I'm not looking at your bank account too? Who told you I don't understand how you feel more than you do? Who told you I'm not real when I've revealed myself to you? Who told you that you can't have things at your door that you didn't work for? All you had to do was ask. Who told you that I don't understand how you feel? Who told you? And he made me kind of go around, and he was trying to show me for like the past year that it's not my fault, that I'm not the problem, but I just couldn't understand. And I'm so happy I understand. You know, I always loved crying, but after like my ego, I became this person who had only heard things and never experienced things. I knew God was real. I always knew that somebody was watching me. I just didn't know. I was fully convinced that whoever he is, he does not speak to me. Yet somehow he's the only thing that I think about. He said, like, you've been thinking about me your whole life. Not even in your conscious mind, in your subconscious mind, you're always asking, like, God, why is this happening? But I couldn't get those words out loud until I smoked weed. Sometimes I would smoke weed, especially when I was smoking every day. You know, I know everybody was really lazy and stuff, but I would literally, I just forgot. I would wake up and be like, oh my, I'm like, God, like, I'm so unhappy. And that was enough. He wasn't looking for a prayer. He wasn't looking for anything. He just wanted me to say how I felt. And he wanted me to express that. And if smoking weed was the way that I was going to express that, then so be it. Everybody has different methods. And there was, every time I would smoke out my window when I was like 17 and I'd be talking to God, my mother would open my door and I'd sit there, I'd ash out the zoo, and I was like, for fuck's sake. And she'd be like, oh my God, like, what are you doing? And then she'd just stand there and be like, this is not the person I remember, you're not going anywhere. I have voice notes of this shit, like, but I'm gonna have to face it and listen to them and release everything that was said, because I'm still holding it in my tissues. He wants me to alchemize that pain. He's not telling me to confront it because he's a bad person. He genuinely is like, no, like, you will never fully love yourself if you don't let go of the people that couldn't love you properly, because I love you. And who told you that I don't? I was like, well, you know, I didn't grow up with a physical father, and he was in and out. He was like, yes, I understand. Like, say it. Why are you hiding it? Why are you hiding what you didn't have and what you had? It happened. Why are you running away from what happened? Because, like, it just felt like my mother was running away from me my whole fucking life. Like, every hug just felt like this is fake. Like, she doesn't even know how I truly feel inside. I always felt so nervous around her, and I just never understood why. And sometimes my mind would forget the bad things that she did. Like, that it got to that point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, and plus she acts like the next day she has complete amnesia. But I think it's, now I know that we quantum jump every millisecond. So the version that is talking to me today is not the version that was talking to me yesterday, innit? But, like, I'm like, damn, all of these realities, she's hurt in so many of them. All I could receive was the lower frequencies. I never really got the higher frequencies. I know that God has seen her genuinely laugh with somebody. I know God has seen her talk about things deep on her heart. I know God has received a genuine prayer from her before, but I was trying to beat myself up because I didn't see that. I thought God hated me because I couldn't understand how he expects me to just honor somebody that genuinely hates me. Like, just because she loves you doesn't mean that she knows, like, she loves me. And he was like, I never told you to. She doesn't love herself. How can she properly love you? Like, I haven't had a day of therapy. So when I'm saying God and all of these things, I felt like I was a bit crazy because people don't get downloads. And that's a lie. The people that was in my reality, these low realities, maybe I should stop wiping my tears and just let release, right? They don't really receive downloads. Not because they're not there, but because they're not willing to receive. But the entire time I just thought I was so hard-headed, and like, I was just hurt. And I didn't know what to do with it. I thought, God doesn't speak to me. I thought so many things. And that was such a reflection on my 3D, but what's funny is, even when I had my trust fund at 18 and I used it impulsively, like I had a party with people that I don't even speak to now, it was the fact that God was showing me I could do that. Like, it wasn't meant to be like that. I should have used that and gone to another country or something. But like, how long will you live in regret instead of looking at 18-year-old me and saying, you know what, because of what you did, I'm gonna do this for you. She was channeling me in the sense of like, I've always wanted to host people, do shrooms together, like ascend together, create together, whether it be music or painting or poetry, something, even just sitting watching a TV show with people who have the exact same mind as me, knowing that the universe is talking to the both of us and we are about to receive a message from this. Every time I binge a show now, it feels like God is watching it with me, but I'm only just conscious of that. Do you get it? Like, so when I've been smoking and everything like that, like, God has always been there. He was there. I just didn't consciously know that until I ate shrooms. And then I looked at the 3D and I said, oh my fuck, he is here. But it's interesting that I had to ingest something to realize that, innit? And that thing was so demonized, and I'm living with somebody who I could never tell how I met God. Like, do you know how deep that is, to live with my mother for 20 years and not be able to tell her about my most intimate experience? You know, in another world, I came home that day and I said, Mom, I just had the best trip ever. You know, there's a version of me where my mother and I do shrooms together. And I have such comfort knowing that there's infinite versions of me, that I can tap into those realms and those realities. I can quantum jump there. I can be there if I want to. But it's a fact of like, why do I want us to do shrooms together? Like, she wouldn't have this. That's not how God wants to meet her. Do you get it? The universe meets everybody in different ways. The universe can meet you as Source. He can meet you as God. He can meet you as Jesus. He can meet you as Buddha. He can meet you as Allah. You know, we can say, oh, no, it's different gods, different gods. That's true. I'm not talking about the evil people who are conscious that Jesus isn't a white man. But they hang up like pictures of Tamu and all of those like gods to take the piss. I'm talking about people like there's like, I just sat back and I watched Transformation Church and I was like, there's no way God is offended by them worshipping and using the name Jesus when they're all genuinely doing it. They're all like, we've come here with baggage and we only know that the name Jesus is the one that can like take it, because this baggage is killing us. Like, we think it's normal for somebody to have cancer and we're like, well, they're gonna have to go through months of chemotherapy. Like, wait, what? We don't even use 100% of our brain. I need to know how much of our brain we use. I know I use more of my brain is what I'm saying. I need to know, like, if it's like 20%, I'll lose it. Because when I watched Limitless, I was like, bro, I knew that I was smart. I just didn't feel... I'm not seeing... 10%? Nah. Nah. There's no way. Oh, it's even talking in one of Hollywood's favorite bits of pseudoscience. Human beings use only 10% of their brain, and awakening the remaining 90% supposedly dormant allows otherwise ordinary human beings to display extraordinary mental abilities. In Phenomenon, 1996, John Travolta gains the ability to predict earthquakes and instantly learns foreign languages. Scarlett Johansson becomes a superpowered martial arts master in Lucy, 2014, and in Limitless, Bradley Cooper writes a novel overnight. Somebody said, oh, they said, oh, people only use 10% of their brains on a daily basis, but the truth is that we use all of our brain all the time. That's just not true. That proposed, 19th century psychologist William James, who proposed that most of our mental potential goes untapped, but he never specified a percentage. Even Albert Einstein said that. Yeah. How do you even know that you're using 100% of your brain? You would just know. It's why I take shrooms and I just know. Like, there's some things that I don't question when I'm on shrooms. I'm not like, oh, what if, like, no, there's no time for that shit. Like, when I'm on shrooms, I'm like, bro, like, I need to get up and do it. Like, I'm thinking, my brain, the first time I did shrooms, my God, there were so many downloads. Like, that was the first time I think 100% of my brain was activated, because me and my friend were in completely different realms. I'm seeing lampposts when it got dark. The lampposts looked like moons to me. Moons. Multiple moons. So I was like, man, I don't even know where we are and how to get home, but I do know we need to follow the moons. Which was obviously because the lampposts are everywhere. And that would have been fact. And he was like, the moon's not out or something like that. He was just like, bro, that's a lamppost. Like, he couldn't see nothing. There was no visuals for him until he left me, until we parted ways, and he went home and he had a really bad trip. Like, everything around him looked weird. Because he didn't realize that he quantum jumped as well. So when he's coming back to this reality, like, he didn't prepare for the shrooms. I had prepared for the shrooms. I came back. I have to talk about my shroom experience. That 10% that I used before, I had cleaned my room. I set up, like, my mirror. I had tissues on my bed, a notebook, and a pen, I believe. And then I felt the urge to take off my lashes. I was in a starfish position for like an hour, listening to Mike Todd's, I think it might have been one of the relationship goals ones. I don't know. I was listening to him a lot last year, as I should be. And then I made a quick video. I literally made a video. It was on this phone. It wasn't that long, but I was talking about how, like, nothing actually matters. Like, and I was like, oh my God, like, the love's been within me this whole time. So now I'm using all of my brain. I can understand why that 10% was telling me I'm gonna die, because the 90% knew I was gonna live. So there was no time for me, even if I did have a so-called bad trip. Like, for me, when the intrusive thoughts came in, even on the trip, because, yeah, I looked in the mirror and I was like, I've never been this happy. And what if I wake up and I'm not like this, and I'm not this happy? I said, no. And I literally, it was only a second that I thought like that. Oh, I don't even think it was a second. The thought came in and I was like, no, never. I was like, no, fuck that. I'm going to wake up and be even happier. And did. I slept for 2 hours. I was not trying to sleep when I did. I was not. It's because I had my first day of work on that day. But that's how you know, like, the 3D was ready to slam me. Like, I went so high that I had to drop so low to see that this is not my reality that I'm meant to be in at all. If I use 100% of my brain here, I have to quantum jump somewhere else. So when I was watching Limitless, and the first thing that my man did, that Bradley Cooper, I forgot his name in the film, because I watched the series and then I watched the film, and then I was like, and then I now need to rewatch the series, Smoking a J. But the point is, yeah, he took the NZT, he comes home, he's like, surely this isn't my room. How are you telling me that this man took a drug, is using all of his brain, and the first thing he did was clean up his apartment? Like, are you joking now? All of these drugs, especially the man-made ones, they're not designed to connect neurons in your brain. They're not designed to have a mindset. So if he's using 100% of his brain and he goes home and he's not aware that he's tapped into that much of his brain, everything is going to look weird to him, because the rest of his brain knows he's not meant to be here. But you can literally refuse to not use the rest of your brain. That's the point. We can say, oh, that's not true, you know. We use 100% of our brain all the time. That's fine. I don't really care what people think anymore. Like, I know that I was not. Even now, I'm not. I'd say right now I'm using maybe half. That's even a bit much. But God just wanted me to use more of my brain so that when I do shrooms, it's not like this overwhelming thing. It's like, bro, like I remember when I did shrooms and I was like, wow, like this is what it looks like when I was like singing and praising and dancing. Like when I'm being creative, this is how it feels like spiritually. But I didn't receive that effect as much in the physical. I still felt good creating, but I didn't feel great. I didn't feel joy. I didn't know that no matter even a stroke, that is creativity. I wasn't satisfied. I was always looking for more. So now I'm like, and I didn't pay for those shrooms. So I'm like, listen, if the first time I did shrooms, I didn't pay, God is not gonna make me pay for shrooms again. I did pay for most of my shrooms after that though. But it was because that's how I wanted it. That was when I was planning them. They were amazing though, but I'm fully believing now that God just doesn't want me to pay for some things because of how much I've been working in my mind, survival mode and all of these things. Sometimes you need to sit and unpack that shit. And like sometimes it was brutal. Like I would just be sitting here and I'm like, oh my God, like I need to do something. Like I don't know what. It was much better than last year though, because I would have never sat down and just done something. I would have like, I don't know, gone straight to sleep or used some sort of coping mechanism. And binging shows for me was my coping mechanism. Even if I watched the Vampire Diaries, I would see the Vampire Diaries in my dreams, like in an interpretation. Like your subconscious would try to use what you're watching to show you something. But then I would wake up and be like, what the fuck, like I would very much dismiss my dreams, because I just thought like God was taking the piss out of me. Like, why are you showing me all of that? And then I wake up to this reality. But that's exactly it. He shows you that, so when you wake up to this reality, you know what to do. Start questioning everything. How can I have a wall of dreams and ambitions? Why did I write all the nations of the earth? Why? From Afghanistan to Zimbabwe. Why? Is it for fun? Or is it that if there's really infinite versions, I'm in every one of those countries? Or am I going to be traveling to all of those countries in this life? But I won't get there if I'm just looking at it like a dream. I think that the Bible, why it can also be a metaphorical thing, is because there's so much spiritual depth to it that it had to be dumbed down into a book. I think the book is an expression of the unseen realm. See, when it comes into the physical, it's a result. It has to be birthed in the spiritual. So it's not that people in the Bible didn't do shrooms and things like that. You would never see that. So like for me, I always reference the Bible to my personal context. I just didn't see a point in reading it, and they're talking about Samaria, they're talking about the Canaanites, all of that, but like I don't live in a time where the Canaanites, we reference people as that. I live in a time where we're talking about like American people and like British people. It's very different, so I like to fill in the gaps for myself, but like it doesn't feel like I'm filling the gaps. My mind will already go there, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what it's about for me. So when I'm in my wilderness and God is saying, I'm giving you bread for today, but you can't carry it into tomorrow, it felt like he was saying, I'm giving you weed to enjoy today. Stop trying to hold and count how big you roll it. You know, you need this nug for tomorrow. Like you're now like the trip. when you smoke tomorrow. Like, my point is, even the reason addiction is a thing is because you think that you're not abundance. You think you need this thing when this thing needs you. When I had a healthy relationship with weed, I was like, wow. I was just ashamed to share that. I was ashamed to share that God talks to me in a way that I've never heard him talk to anybody else. That doesn't mean he doesn't. It means that we're afraid to talk about a God that is good because he has been painted as bad. I wrote that in my poetry. I was like, do you know what people say about you? Do you know how you've been portrayed? And he's like, yeah, I know, but that's why I want to send you. That's why I want you to experience me, so that people know, like, oh wow, she's actually being for real. She is not lying, like, because they know. And it's like, people always like to take advantage of me because they know that I hate lying. Even I started lying because of my mother. Like, you know, if I had a photography event to go to, I would say that, I don't know, going out for food or something, because she told me that photography wouldn't take me anywhere. And then I stopped doing photography for a very long time. I would take very long to edit. All of these subconscious things where somebody's telling me, your photos are amazing. I don't believe it. I say thank you though, it makes me feel good in the moment, but when somebody would call me beautiful, I'd say thank you. I'm flattered, but I go back in the mirror and I hear voices saying, you are disgusting. Not because I'm disgusting, it's subconscious thoughts, and those thoughts are not me. Now, I've had the privilege to hear a thought and be like, I don't agree with that. No, and then I imagine water and I imagine it just flowing to the throne of God. Doesn't mean that I've seen the throne, doesn't mean that there's a real throne. It means that this is how I've processed my emotions outside of therapy, and it's worked, and it doesn't include religion, and I'm fine with it. Anyways, so it would be water, and then I'd imagine just like a gold throne. I never really imagined what God looked like. I just imagined lots of gold and light. And then I remember the thought going down, or even me just being in the water, and I'm like, did that come from you? He's like, no. And then I would let the thought flow in the water over there, almost as if I'm just letting it go through me. Like, it's not something that I have to, what does this mean? Oh my God, what? No, it's like, so I was just trying to let everything go through me. I was so afraid to show God in a good light because I just didn't love myself in it. So the more he tells me to love myself, I'm like, fuck, man, like, you're actually nice, like, you're actually sweet, and you care. And it was everybody around me. So he constantly kept going back to Genesis 3. Who told you? Who told you? Who told you? I'm like, oh, my mama. And then he would even take me back to like relationships that I didn't want to think about. It's like, girl, you may not think you're thinking about that, but you are. How does he know that I'm thinking about that and I wasn't even thinking about it? Because I'm not using 100% of my brain. When I was on shrooms, I talked the entire time. It was the first time I opened my mouth. So I'm literally begging to speak. My heart is burning to speak because my higher self speaks. We are designed to speak. We are created with mouths for a reason. When you go into the spiritual realm, they don't really talk like the way we talk. They talk with thoughts. And it's why, you know, you receive downloads, but they don't come in like somebody coming up to you and talking to you. It would just be you say a random thought popped in my head. That's a download from a place that you don't have to worry too much about where it was. Worry about how much it hits you. You get a thought that everything's gonna be alright, but your 3D is saying rent is due because you're getting a letter that says debt. What is that? I used to say that's a lie to that voice, but I realized that if I can have voices telling me before that I was gonna die, I can have voices telling me that it's gonna get better. So the Bible is not really something that I would advise people to stick to. It's something that you can use to adjust yourself into the spirit realm. I think it's a foundation. I think it's amazing that God can even use that to speak to me, but it's not the only way that he wants to speak to me. I'm literally looking at Psalm 23. Like, the Eternal is my shepherd. He cares for me always. He provides me rest in rich green fields beside streams of refreshing waters. He soothes my fears. He makes me whole again. Like, I used to read that so much that I was like, bro, I want that. I want to be taken to rich green fields beside streams of refreshing waters. I want my fears to be soothed. And then he had to make me realize all those times you were going to the lake, all those times you were sitting there wondering what's going on. Like, I was right there. When your mother was saying things about you, I was right there. If you think I was smiling when that was happening, I wasn't. But if I control everybody like puppets, even her subconscious was telling her not to say it. She would apologize to me on text message. We live in the same house. But she's saying don't let the sun go down. I can't let the sun go down on my anger. But you just, even as I've gone into the spirit, you've brought me down, man. So when I was smoking weed, I was listening to Prophet Lovi. I think I listened to over 10 videos a day. It's all I was doing, to a point where I was repelling this reality. I was like, bro, this reality is not fucking real. Does that mean Prophet Lovi smokes weed? No, but he's my spiritual father. And it's not about what they agree with. Like, how long am I gonna care about how people perceive me if God has told me that this thing is not unclean for you? I mean, this thing is not unclean for you. Do not call what I call clean unclean. If you are you gonna be yet another person who puts shrooms and everything else in a bad light? Don't you're literally, don't become the person that you're tired of. And he always knew that this pain would be alchemized into such love, such expression of creativity. Like, he always knew that it would be hard for me to tell him, like, I want you to meet me right here again. I want you to tell me that everything is gonna be okay. Not because I don't know. He knows that I'm a human being and I just want to hear it. Whether you say it in a video, whether you say it in a TV show, or you show me in poetry where you've said it, like, I felt like I couldn't ask anything. And he had to tell me, it's not you. You're just in so much pain. And that's why I believe in Jesus, because when I watched the Son of Man, after I got baptized, and Jesus, like, in the film, he was getting, like, I mean, in that film, he was kind of whitish, he was kind of whitish, but, I mean, the Son of God, it wasn't about how he looked, it's about the person. And he was getting, like, whipped on his back, and it felt like I was getting whipped on my back. I was like, what the hell? Like, I could feel it. I was like, bro, and I started crying. Like, I've never cried. I cried like a baby. I was like, oh my God. Because, like, that was the first time I realized, like, this entire time, every TV show has been a message. It was for me. That's why you're like, oh, this TV show, it's too real for my liking. Sometimes you watch a TV show, you're like, bro, is somebody taking the piss? Like, this is literally my life. And, like, that was the first time I was using more of my brain to realize, because I wasn't laughing at that point, because I was like, I just want context on who you are and what you've done. Obviously, this is not accurate, you know, but it's still there, and I just felt the urge to watch it. It was like 5 a.m. I smoked some weed, and I was just like, what the fuck? I ain't been whipped on my eye. And, like, all of the, you know, I always say people will never fully understand or comprehend what I've been through. And I said, hey, Jesus, this play is not just about me or you, it's about us. He gets it. Jesus is like the most misunderstood person to ever exist, yet he's everywhere. And I always wondered, like, why does that name make people so pissed? But I just needed to know why every time I would say, oh my God, every time I'd be like, Jesus. And even then my mom would say, don't say the Lord's name in vain. Oh my Lord. I'm not controlling it. I'm just saying it. I want to know why. I want to know why the people who say they follow Jesus act a certain way, and then these downloads that I receive and the love that I have that is from this same person. I said, we got you all wrong, man. We got you all wrong. How are you telling me the scriptures, what you said was written 80 years after you said it? Sorry, I don't even remember what I said last week. How are you telling me that people are accurately going to write what you said 80 years after you said it? No. Even if I write about my shroom trip today, it would be very different from the day that it happened. Very different, but it wasn't something that I felt to write down. It was something I wanted to experience and feel and keep in my heart, that God, like, no matter what, please take me back there and realize that was the beginning. And so I felt bad. I was like, why can I only just think about shrooms right now? What's going on? Like, because he wants to do them with me. And then I said, okay, well now I need to get a job. I'm thinking, how do I find it? Man's going on Indeed. He's like, bro. And not once has he condemned me. What the fuck kind of Jesus is this? That's why it was the Jesus reframe. Because I was like, bro, like, he's so cool. But then he was like, I made you cool. I am you. So I need you to know that you are divine. We are divine. You don't tell people anymore to look for me outside. We are Jesus. We are God. And then he would take me from, like, I have seen some really good churches, and then he would take me on a journey to like really spiritual people who don't believe in him or anything like that, but they know that they are God, and like God is within us. God is consciousness. I said, so you presented yourself like this and this. I'm understanding, like, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven is within. He really preached to me in hell, man. He preached to me and he brought me out with one scripture. Whoever the Son sets free is free indeed. That was it. That was it. And in terms of like SON, I was thinking of that, and also SUN. So because my mind was so fixated on that, he used that and showed me a gold light that was coming from the ground up. Does that mean that there's an inner earth? It also tells me there's more than one sun. It tells me that life is much bigger than I could ever imagine. And if I can do some shroom experiences, I can do some weed experiences and explain that and share that and give somebody motivation. Like, wow, how does Jesus want to reveal himself to me? And all I've got to do is ask? That's crazy. I think that's crazy. Bro, the Son of God actually hurt me bad. Actually hurt me bad. I was like, then I understood, like, oh, he just needed to eradicate sin. Like, the point is, we shouldn't be talking about sin anymore. The only one that should be talking about sin is Jesus. But when you've never experienced Source, all they can do is hang on to a book that they didn't write. That's all they can do. But God had made me pick up the book and then put it down. Like, he reminds me, like, pick it up, put it down. Pick it up, put it down. So I speak however I want, including through you. But if you can't obviously be 100% conscious that, like, God speaks all the time. And I even thought, oh my God, he's so offended that I call him God. No! It's the heart of the person. It's the heart of the person. And I actually feel amazing. So, yeah. I want to receive a package that I could have never worked for, because then it's like, if Jesus can't show himself, like, if he's so big, then he's going to do things that I could have never done. He's going to create a substance like shrooms and show me things that I couldn't even ask, think, or imagine. He's going to make things available to me that the 3D tells me isn't going to happen. You need visas and things and that, you know. In this 3D realm, you have to get married to somebody to be able to, like, live in that country indefinitely. But then Jesus makes me write the nations of the earth. I said, sir, do you know it costs money to get to eat? He was like, no, it cost me. She was like, how hungry are you to be free? That's why I understood, like, whoever the sun sets free is free indeed. That's why I got a tattoo of the sun, because I said, I have seen the sun, and I have seen the Son of God. And then he said, I'm the Son of God now. I said, oh. So you're not too fussed about names and that. You just want me to have a revelation beyond the name. Like, if I know my name is divine, and that's it. But what about my life is divine? What about my life could I tell somebody and they're like, yeah, I can't lie, that one doesn't even make sense. Like, that got me thinking I should ask, if into the atmosphere, Jesus, reveal yourself. Jesus, are you real? Imagine thinking God is going to strike us down for asking him to reveal himself in a reality where everybody makes us think he's not real. He's itching for us to be like, Jesus. That's why I think that's why everybody says his name, because he's actually real. He's been glorified, but he's not this cocky person who says worship me or die like the rest of them. The people that are saying repent, God is coming, repent, God is coming, like, I don't need to say that. Has he come for you? Has he helped you in any way? And have you seen heaven? Do you know where you're going when he comes? Do you know that he's taking you specifically? Do you know anything outside of scripture? Anything? Is there any love in your life? Like, God wants me to be humble, being rich is evil. That same God is the one who tells me that you are going to have so much money, you will never be able to count how much you've gone through. He never even told me that. He said you're an economy. Do you know what that means? An economy? Sir, I did economics as A-level and I got a D. I was depressed in school, y'all. I was like, bro, but I think that's why. Are you going to let the 3D tell you you're not an economy? Do you really believe you need qualifications to be a life coach, considering what you've experienced? Do you really need qualifications to be who you are? Do you need money to get there? Do you need anything to talk to me? That's all he wanted me to do, was to talk to him. And I was so afraid to be vulnerable, to share. I literally said at the beginning, this video is going to be for me. And then we started like shifting into like, I'm actually talking on like YouTube. I was like, oh, why wouldn't I want to post this? Because it's too real. That's exactly why I should. So I didn't get his name tatted on me for no reason. It was after the shroom trip, first of all. And I knew that my mother was very like, what tattoos did you get? Can I see them? She never asked me about them. What did they mean? Why did you get them? But I have her birth year tatted here and my dad's. At first, this was because I said I've only held one parent's hand, never both at the same time. Obviously, I have, but if I don't remember it, it didn't happen that often. And then after a point, obviously I stopped holding hands with my mother. Like, you know when they would want to hold your hand crossing the road? But I was like 10. And I was already at that point where I was going to school on my own. I was doing shit on my own. Like, I can tell that the God that you say you believe in, you're so scared. There's not been a week she hasn't complained about money. Not one. And then I thought that wouldn't have an effect on me trying to say, when God didn't tell me about anything about money. He said you're an economy. So you just need to flow. You just need to let it flow. When people are paying for you, it's because you're an economy. When I'm saying you don't need to ask for money, it's because I know how much you need. You would, like I said on my wall, that I want him to be my businessman, because money management, you know, But if the creator of money, if all I have to do is ask, then that's great. I was so afraid to be like, I want to receive like a package that is actually too heavy to hold. But the 3D isn't real, so why do I care? If I can't even ask it, I'm definitely not going to receive it. It's one thing to affirm, to repeat it until you believe it. I've done that too many times. It's another thing to ask, knowing that you have every right to receive what you're asking for. And like, I've been in my room a lot more, not wearing any clothes, because I used to be very awkward about my body. Like, yeah, I just used to hate my body. My mother would always make a comment from young. I don't remember when she didn't. You know, you're getting big, or you know, you're getting skinny, you're not eating, you're dark. That was the one that got me yesterday. But I said, thank you, God, for making me get to a point where, like, light work, no reaction. You know what I mean? But I remember I recorded a YouTube video and I was out and I was like, oh my God, this tan is going crazy. And then I go home and she's like, make sure you put on sunscreen, like, you're dark. I'm like, and then my mind, like, took me to all the times where she said that every summer, even in school. So then now I'm thinking, oh my God, am I getting too dark? Bitch, I want to get as dark as possible. First of all, this ain't even dark. This is not dark. How do you hate yourself? And she would always be like, I remember she used to have a friend who bleached her skin, and she'd always be like, oh my God, like, you know, you shouldn't do that. I've actually seen so much, but it wasn't for me to judge. It was him saying, when are you going to ask me to take you out? Have you suffered enough? When are you going to understand that this shit, you don't deserve it? So when Jesus gave me context to who he was, I said, oh, because you suffered the most, I can talk to you. You're not offended by what I say. Everybody's like, oh, God knows everything I need. I don't need to ask for nothing. I've just never had that mentality. I don't know, I've never had that. I do believe you don't have to ask him for everything, like bread, like, you know, oh Lord, like I want to go buy milk, I don't know. But if that's the capacity that you're at, and the only thing you can do is say, God, I just want some milk. He's not going to be like, ugh. He's going to help you improve from that space, though, because he don't want you to be asking him for milk. He knows what you need. But the things that you're asking for should be things that you can't physically get yourself. It should be things that break the 3D realm, that provoke him to answer, to respond. So I'm listening to Pastor Jerry, and on the 20th of June, on the 7 a.m. morning prayers, I'll talk about prayers, but he said, like, God has just been reframing everything for me, because I thought prayer was speaking, but prayer is writing, prayer is everything. This is prayer. I even at a time wanted to call the podcast A Realm of Prayer, but the divine reframe. I don't really care. Like, I'm realizing it's not about names, it's who I am. If I shift and he says you gotta call it something else, something else, something else, then there's a reason. Don't be attached to names. Don't be attached to the 3D realm. Don't be attached to your mother. Don't be attached to yourself. Detach from everything that you think you know, and love yourself just because you exist. So in the other videos, I said that on my whiteboard I wrote, the only thing you can do in this universe is love yourself. I said, don't let go of yourself. Let go of everything. Surrender to every possibility. If you don't like where you are, keep moving. If you're not fulfilled, keep fighting. Be proud. Stand tall. But the first time I read that, I said, what do you mean the only thing I need to do in this universe is love myself? I was like, what? Like, I literally have been looking at this wall for so long because of the that's how you know, though, deprogramming is amazing. And I was like, bro, like, are you lying to me? Like, this surely has to... I never believed that this was all coming from my own head, but that was when the ego was really coming out. All of that, I realized it was my subconscious. It wasn't me. I believe those things are real, but I had to handle the tension in my womb, the unbalancing of my chakras, why my head goes in and out when my mom's at home because I'm not protecting the crown. All of these things. You didn't enjoy texting because you were always waiting for texts back from people who didn't appreciate you. You think that good people don't exist because the people in your life, when you were posting content, they never commented, they never liked, they would just watch. But he's showing you, have you suffered enough? Have you suffered enough to know that the life that you're living, this is not what I have for you all? But I will protect you every step of the way. But I can't force you out. I can only show you signs that you can make it out, and you already have, because I'm on both. He's on like all sides. I think that's why he's like in every religion, and he doesn't care about how you meet him. It's the love, loving yourself enough to know I deserve better, and whatever I'm dreaming of, whatever I'm thinking of, there's a reason for that. And I can't just be here for no reason. The reason why we're always thinking about purpose is because we know we have one. We know we're here for a reason. We've just forgotten. And because I had remembered quite a bit at that, and I was around people who had forgotten, they were constantly telling me, why don't you have a job? And because I believe that I don't have to labor for something that naturally flows. Even if I work 7 days of the week, I still won't have enough to fund the dreams and visions. They will remain dreams and visions if I respond to whatever the 3D is showing me. Plus, if everything, if the future, present, and past are all at once, then this is just a projection of my subconscious, but can also be a loop that continues tomorrow. Shit ain't gonna change because I'm like, Shit's gonna change because I've had enough within. Not because I work and work and work and save and save and save. And now I'm in debt and like, I go on holiday once a year. Fuck no. I want to travel everywhere. The places that they tell us not to go to. I want to go to the Middle East and grab all of them. Get private jets, get planes so we can take them to other countries. I don't care if the United Nations or, people are telling me that I can't, I don't care what the 3D says anymore. I just don't. It hasn't served me, hasn't done anything. Hasn't made my life any better. Doing shrooms opens my mind, and I am finally confident in saying that. Finally confident in not just saying it's a cool trip, Living in shame doesn't do anything. I don't know how long I'm here. But I know that I'm not going to say it's not long. I'm just saying that the religious mindset just doesn't work with me. It just doesn't fit. But I know that religion, God speaks through religion. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't like it, but he can still use everything to speak. the reason why you feel post-nut clarity after you watch porn is because he's speaking to you like, do you want to watch it, or would you rather experience it? Would you rather watch somebody do it and like, or would you like experience? That's what I was feeling in Baby Reindeer. He could not be intimate with that beautiful therapist who was a trans woman. He couldn't connect with her, not because she was trans, but because he was confused about his sexuality. He kept watching male, like, gay porn because he was groomed by a man, and it was while he was unconscious on drugs. But in all, like, can you see how it goes back? If you don't decide to love yourself, you will die much quicker than a physical death. The love of your life could be standing right in front of you and you will never know. You will self-sabotage. You will dream of realities that you think are unattainable. You will even develop a physical illness if you don't love yourself. That's what this 3D realm is. It's a hellish realm because there's a lack of love. When I read Genesis 1 and 2 and God is like, oh, it was good. Obviously now I know the Bible's been misinterpreted over the years and everything like that. Removed books, everything. Of course, that doesn't mean God still can't speak. So he's saying it was good. And I'm wondering, how did we get from all of that to this? This is not good to me. He's like, girl, same. He's seeing the world through our eyes. I thought he was waiting for me to raise up holy hands and be like, oh, glory, Lord. Which he doesn't mind, but as wild as it sounds, the divine is my friend. My friend who gives me gifts, who gives me hope every morning. Sometimes I feel like he's not speaking to me, but he just wants to do a normal thing. Like, he doesn't want to speak sometimes. Like, sometimes he just want to chill. He's like, nah, let's watch something. Like, let's listen to music. I'm like, and then I have a sudden urge to listen to music, but I didn't even want to do that. But it's because he knows that's what I need. And that's what I'm thinking. I'm just not using that side of my brain yet. When he tells me, like, just sit here and, like, look at yourself in the mirror. Like, he really made me look at my body, stretch marks and all. And I said, wow, like, even, you know, the scars that you get from when you're little, you fall over, all those kind of things. My teeth, I used to hate them so much because I thought they had to look a certain way. I was doing my locks today. I was putting them in braids. And I was giving myself judgments, but I was listening to Pastor Jerry Eze's prayer. And I was like, it felt like he asked me, like, what is it about your hair that you don't like? I said, well, I think it's not thick enough. And he was like, where did you base, like, that it needs to be thick from? And I was like, well, and then I realized I was about to compare it. And I said, hey, comparison is the reason that I don't love my hair. I love my hair. But it was also because when I got the locks, like, my mother was very... And, like, when they were maturing into locks, because obviously before that, she would pay for my braids. But even then, I was like, bro, I've had enough. Like, I love the braids, though. Don't get me wrong. Me and braids... locked in. Like, even in school when they tell you can't do whatever color, I would go in with red hair. And if they say, oh, take it out or you can't come, I'm not going. That was, bro, I did not care. Like, because that part of me was coming out that, like, I'm not even meant to be here anyway. I'm not even meant to have red braids. I'm meant to have red locks. And did. My hair is a lot more like red at the bottom and then blonde now. Because I didn't even pick that. I dyed my hair red. I've never told anybody this, but I'm gonna say it. I dyed my hair red on July 29th last year, the day before I did shrooms. I don't remember if I knew I was doing shrooms or not. I think I did, but I was dyeing my hair anyway. I dyed my hair red and I was like, God, I'm giving my hair to you now. Do whatever you want with it, because I judge myself too much. Wow, I just remembered that. Like, I literally said, like, just make me love myself. Like, make me look nice. Like, I don't know. So I'm telling you, when I say I prepared for shrooms, I prepared for shrooms. I had my hair all nice, like, but I didn't have that access to that side of my brain to know it was me doing it. That's why I believe in God. That's why I believe in higher forces, because there are some things that I've done and I never would have done it. And I'm like, oh, because you can see a side of my brain that I can't. You know some things that I don't. And you're not fighting me about it. You're actually giving me hope. Like, and that's why I love the Bible, because I met him outside of it. So when he used it, just to show me that he does speak in it. But if you don't know him, you'll never know that. The ones that throw scripture and all that, you should already know that they haven't met him. They're very hurt. They have a lot of trauma in their tissues. Their subconscious mind fears God. Like, they're scared of hell. But we're already in hell. Like, I'm not saying, I think life and the spiritual realm is too big for me to say that there is no physical hell. But I haven't personally seen it myself to say that. I'm saying when God was speaking to me, he was telling me that this is my realm of hell. The wickedness that goes on in the world, the complete forgetfulness about this creator, the different religions, the way that they bash, kill, murder, destroy. Like, how do you want it to get any worse than this? And they say Jesus is coming, like, do you have anything else to make me truly believe that, though? So when you push past everything that you've been told, then you meet him. And you're like, oh, you've been there the whole time. You wanted me to question shit? But you don't perceive that he's helping you question shit. Like, you just do. And for the only thing for me to do in this universe is love myself is so crazy to me. But it's so beautiful because it just shows so much. Only love can save me. Not money, not a job, not my mama, not nothing that I do, not my content. Nothing will save me. Only love. Only love. Only love can save me this time, y'all. Only love. Not mushrooms, nothing. Love. And I love myself enough to believe that there is a life for me that is even beyond anything we've written on this wall. So big. There are infinite versions. And then don't get me started on star seeds, Christ consciousness, the all, like the one, he's so big. And I realized that's why, you can't force somebody to awaken. That revelation will destroy them. If somebody's talking about hell and brimstone, you've got to leave it. You've got to leave it. You have to leave it. If you try to explain to them anything else, they're not going to understand because they're not at the capacity to receive it. But the fact that you are, the fact that, like, I can be this person even when my mother is like that is because yes, she is a reflection of me that didn't love myself, but I am also a reflection of her. This level of capacity is in her. It's in most people, but they will reject it because, one, you're not using 100% of your brain, and your subconscious, everything that you've been told, like, we think that, oh, Hollywood and all that, they're trying to get our conscious mind. No, they want the subconscious, so that even if somebody tells you about a good God, you'll still question it. But I already know that because of who I am. Like, I've been through too much for somebody to question that I'm lying. I don't know. I've dealt with too many liars. I think that's what the suffering was for, though, so that I know that this is not who I want to be. I don't want somebody who lives at home, because I know that there are, and I literally thought about it today, and God showed me online to confirm. I saw loads of like 29, late 20s and 30-year-olds just kind of saying, I still live with my parents, you know, no job, like, and they were kind of all like laughing about it, from like, if you don't laugh you'll cry. And I was like, bro, like, are you telling me all I need to do is make a video for people like that? Hi, I'm you. And the only thing that the reason why it's like that is because, first of all, you're bound to your house. Like, you have to release yourself from everything. You have to believe that you have a life outside of what your parents have given you, is what I'm saying. Like, if I can't believe that the universe can carry me, then I will have to forever carry myself. So it's like, if you believe that your parents are the only ones you can go back to every single time, you'll just stay there. Not because you're comfortable there, but because you look at the world, you look at the 3D and you're like, I don't want to work for the rest of my life. And then you have to kind of help them retire. And a lot of the times we're always like, before I do anything, I just want to get successful for my parents. Like, that is not my reason. I want to be successful for me. I want to taste success because I love myself. Because my mother and father named me Kim, but in the spirit my name is Divine. So there are some blessings, a mindset that Kim couldn't tap into that Divine can. And Divine can tell Kim, hey, you know, we can go. And you don't have to work to do that. Now, it did take me a while to get here, but I fucking got here. And like, we always laugh at people who still live with their parents, but it's because it's literally like that breaking point is your breakthrough. When you say, eh. So I just might have a spiritual name. And whatever that spiritual name is holds a life that is outside of my parents' house. You'll be completely unrecognizable. My mother can't, she that's why she says those things like, you're dark, or things like that. I am not who she pictured in her mind. It's why she holds on to pictures from years ago when I hated myself. But when I look at it, I just look at two hurt people, and I don't hate myself for that. But it's the fact that you cannot stay where somebody's dragging you back. The analogy of Abraham being told by God to get out of his father's house is God saying to us that he is our original parent. We have parents. That's why spiritual parents are a thing. I'm always talking about my spiritual father. I have a spiritual mother. I've never met these people in the 3D. But how long will I let the 3D control me? Everything that I've learned came from up here. Everything that I experienced, the lessons that you learn and the wisdom that you gain is to help you love yourself. Not because you deserve that suffering. Not because, you know, yeah, God is like, I'll teach you a lesson. See, the Bible that I've read, the parts of it anyway, I was reading Obadiah 1 in the voice. Oh, no. Now I have to read it. But basically, God seems just as angry as we are. And I'm like, oh, so are you telling me that I just need to talk to him? Are you telling me he's just waiting to bless me? Well, I want to know what kind of blessing that he has for me. And I want a tripod. I want to be able to travel and not worry about what am I going to do there, where, why. I want friends in every country of the world, and not just friends. I am a leader who raises leaders. A prophet told me that. He's not even a Christian. Like most people that I watch that believe in Jesus, they just say Christian because of the people that they're talking to. They just say, like, we're all just going with this, what we've been given. Prophets that have churches, I listen to Prophet Glovis. He is amazing. And he has a church in Texas. But he doesn't call it church. He calls it supernatural school. So the real school is meant to be when you're learning about spirituality. You know, when people go to Thailand and all of those things. That is what school's meant to be. School is not meant to be learning about the 3D. It's meant to be learning about everything behind the 3D. So then you know how to work the 3D. You don't have to fight the 3D. You merge with it. You understand that I am in this, but I'm not attached to it. Anyway. So I was reading that, and it says, the day of the Eternal's judgment for all the nations is near. I said, and I wrote all the nations of the earth. So I'm saying, why did you make me write that? He's taking me, that he's saying everything, lockdown, all of these epidemics, the secret things, because we don't know everything. The secret things that happen behind the scenes. This old Bible, and this God who has met me as a friend. I read in the Voice translation, by the way. That's probably why it sounds a bit different, which is very telling. Because I said, God, I don't want to read in King James. I was like, I can't stand it. Can you give me something else? And he gave me the Voice. I always know about the King James, though. I grew up in church, but I'm saying, how can he give me a translation called the Voice? I said, so every time I read, like, even when I talk about the Bible that I know is just not the King James or I don't know anybody that knows the Voice. And I told one person about the Voice, and she got the Bible. Like, we're not even friends anymore, but I'll talk about that in another time. It was because I gave her a position. I called her my godmother, but she's not. I was actually hers. Age is just a number. Plus, it's the Gregorian calendar. Bro, time isn't even real. We should be counting down. But the point was that I had to learn honor, and she was playing on my mother wound as well. Very much Jesus, always quoted in the King James, but like she was broke. But like she didn't want me to know. But like God kept telling me, and I didn't want to admit it. I was like, no, she's not broke. And she had so many gaps in her story. When I said like, oh, I think like God doesn't want me to go to church this Sunday. Because if he did, I would have the provision. If it's God's will, it's God's bill. When we say we're divinely protected and stuff, when the rent money isn't coming, it's because we're trying to get it on our own accord. There are some things that have to be outside of our hands, so that when the worst case scenario happens, although we will react in a very human way as we shouldn't try and figure out that whole thing on our own. Like, how can there be 8 billion people and we all just think we're meant to do this shit alone? Very sad, and a very evil God who would make people who just have to work the shit out on their own. I don't really understand that. Anyway, so yeah, that spun me. First of all, he was like, the day of the Eternal's judgment for all the nations is near. Whatever evil you have done will be done to you. Your deeds will come crashing back on your head. So we're complaining about all these leaders. But if we really understand that what you give is what you receive, if they've been trying to deceive us, they've been killing us, they've been lying to us, and we just think they're going to get away with that. We think that the 100 richest families in the world who like keep the wealth for themselves and modify food and like try to control the North and South poles, all of these hidden things that we do. Are you telling me there is a God who is even angrier? I was like, that's great, because I didn't have no power to change nothing in politics. But now that I know that shit's gonna get turned on their heads, I'm like, even all those people or the people that spoke truth and they killed them off. I don't really understand why God would let that slide. Like, it means that he is cooking. He is cooking. And plus, my concept of death isn't really correct. I'm still learning about that. I'm just happy to admit that I don't know everything, and my knowledge expands by the second. Yeah, so their deeds will come crashing back on their head. I don't need to worry, because, like, you don't need to be scared of judgment. Like, what? How is God? Why would I get closer with a God who's telling me, Judgment Day, I'm gonna judge you for everything that you've done? Like, bro, that sounds really sad. So when I understood I was a light worker, I'm a teacher, and I just need to be real. I'm a teacher and a student. I'll learn every day. But I do have some wisdom on me that I must share. And authenticity will get me much, much farther than anything. So he said, just as you drank to the defeat of my people on my holy mountain, now you and all the nations around you will drink excessively. On what? They'll be forced to drink and guzzle a mouthful of suffering. Hello, poet. Yo, this guy is articulately planning what's gonna happen to wicked people. So we don't need to judge them. Nigga, you gonna get judged anyway. Sin has its own consequences. Don't worry about... Love vibrations just makes you, like, not worry about certain things. Like, anyway. And it will be as if they never existed. So that was when I understood, like, Romans 8, when it says the sufferings we endure now is incomparable to the glory that will be revealed in us, is because we are God. And that anger that we feel, we are channeling him. And it's only a matter of time. Like, all we have to do is switch and be like, oh, we don't have to do anything. We just have to be positioned to watch the fire fall. And that's when God was taking me to his prophets of my time. See, the prophets of their time, Jeremiah, Enoch, Elijah, Elisha, all of those, even prophets in the Quran. I think everything is one. And there are obviously millions, billions of prophets who have not got a book written, but will be channeled through me. Like, do you know? Oh my God. Anyway, it was just crazy to me to think that this life that I'm worrying so much about, all of the suffering and the bad stuff, like, you're telling me that there's gonna be a time where I'm not even thinking about it. Like, this 3D, I can't be attached to this 3D realm at all. And we all let COVID slide. We all said put on the masks, and I think they just wanted to see how far we would go in terms of, like, believing them. Because me putting on a mask doesn't stop me. It still can get through my mask. COVID didn't make any sense to me, but I was really, like, depressed, so I loved the idea of staying at home. I binged watched, I think that was when I was watching Grey's, rewatched The Vampire Diary. It was actually a great time for me. My mother was still working, so I had a lot of time to myself. Did I see anyone? I don't remember. I think I did. Here, like, once or twice, like, here and there, innit? I was very happy in that solitude. I almost kind of forgot that COVID was a thing, because I had heard it in church before, that, like, something like this was gonna happen. I already knew. And my mother was praying the entire time, but she was so fearful. She was instilling so much fear into me, to a point where I just stopped talking to her. But then that was when I discovered porn. I mean, not I discovered porn, sorry. There was I started masturbating in COVID times. But that, like, pleasuring yourself is nothing new. It's the fact of how we're doing it and how it was introduced. God is nothing new. It's how he was introduced to us by people that ain't even met him. People that don't even realize that if I can't see the God in you, you ain't gonna tell me to look for a higher... If you can't see God in me, and I tell you look to the sky, like... the way that I should talk should make you hungry to be like, I need to sit down and ask Jesus, like, yo, reveal yourself. I need to know this Jesus the way that divine knows you, like, and he has a whole different relationship for you. Do you know what I mean? And then you share what you know, and it's just a ripple effect. I thought I was alone, but that's not true. I just have to go first. Anyway, so obviously it talks about like Mount Zion, you know, the lands that were the names of the land at the time and the people. But now obviously I'm gonna reference it to our time. That's what I always do anyway when I read the Bible. But on Mount Zion will be a place of safety. So let's think about it for me, right? How the British Empire. Yeah, I don't really need to explain that, guys. Almost every country has an Independence Day. Small Britain. I'm convinced that there were no maps at the time, because if Africa knew how big they were, but then again, like, they had guns, all of that, like, they came and just like shook up the motherland, man. But God is pissed. But it wasn't just the motherland. They shook up everything. Africa ain't even called Africa. Like, all of these countries, this is just made up words. Like, English is the stupidest language. I always thought about how dumb it is. Like, even for somebody who doesn't speak English, who has to learn English, I always think like it's so stupid. English has to be the stupidest language, but that's exactly why in the dumbest things, like, he uses the dumb to confound the wise. Even as I say that, he's still using English to express himself. You cannot, I don't care how many times you try to cover, relayer, and package God, he comes out in a different way. Anyway, so let's change up the names a bit. So, I mean, when I'm smoking weed or I'm on mushrooms, this is what I do anyway. I think that's what it's meant to be. So, but Britain will be a place of safety. It's not right now, but I'm considering how they took over many places, including the Americas. They did the same. But, you know, and now London is one of the most diverse cities. People dream of London, which I completely missed. I was like, I'm trying to get out, but there are people trying to get in. Like, and it shouldn't be that hard to want to live in another country. The reason is that they love that power that they have, whether to say yes or no. The reason why you want to come here, the papers that you need to have, what you're doing here, and all of how much money's in your bank account. Why are you so inner? And they'll say, well, it's because of terrorists. You know, we have to check everybody. Bullshit. The terrorists are the ones that are doing that. The terrorists are the ones that are making all of that shit happen. Like, that doesn't change nothing. And you know, I've like met a lot of people who have like been really sad that they couldn't like go to the country that they wanted because they were denied. And I'm like, bro, this 3D is not real. It means that there's another way to go there, and it's not the way that we have been shown. There's another way to meet Jesus, y'all, and it's beyond the church. That's why you're more willing to hear what I have to say. I'm literally reading the Bible. Do you know how people act when they read the Bible? I don't know. I've just realized that I am the Bible, and I am too beautiful to worry about backlash. When I know that somebody is going to watch my videos and be like, where have you been? And I can bring out this side of people who think that they are completely unlovable, think that they have to work for money, labor for things that naturally grow, wondering where their next meal is going to come from, wondering why their life is like this. I'm here to tell y'all, it's because you know that there is a bigger life for you, but we're not using 100% of our brains. Anyway, and not because of our own fault. First of all, like, shrooms is illegal in a lot of countries. Weed is illegal in a lot of countries. With good, you know, you know, they don't want you to ascend. Then you're going to realize, but that's the point, that the chosen ones, they always rise. You know, there's nothing hidden that won't be exposed. Nothing done in secret that won't be, like, revealed in public. Nothing. So, yeah. So, let's say, right? But Britain will be a place of safety. Some people will escape to that holy hill. And the people of Jacob will conquer and possess those who conquered and dispossessed them. Doesn't that kind of relate to like the situation though? They went to Africa to get us. Now we've come here. Reparations, first of all. But second of all, like, it just made too much sense in my head that God still wants justice for my people. Even now when we're like, bro, like, how are we all just brushing past slavery? Like, no, God is like, look at me, I'm not brushing past it either. I just don't want to do something for my people and they don't know that it's me doing it. Specifically when he's been waiting to do something good. He's been waiting for me to ask him to bring me a blessing so big that I can't hold it. Because he had to watch my people suffer for so long. Over and over again in multiple universes. So in this one, if all I can do is love myself in my so-called worst reality, and he wants to bless me more so I can quantum jump even further, and all I have to do is meet people in this one. I'm just here to talk to people in this one. I'm not actually meant to be here. And when I ascend, there are going to be too many people that ascend with me. Anyway, the people of Jacob will become a fire. Or I should say Israel, because his name is Israel. The people of Israel will become a fire, and the family of Joseph a flame. That sounds like, you know when people say, I always talk about the fire within. We've got a fire over there. Yeah, I don't need to explain that. They will ignite and consume the people of the United Nations as they execute divine punishment until only dry stubble remains. No one from the 100 richest families will survive the conflagration. Conflagration. Listen, I'm still learning English too, y'all. But let's just put that in context. You can talk about the people of Esau, but who are the people of Esau in your reality? For me, it's the people that say that I can't do things. Divine punishment? What is that? Until only dry stubble remains? I don't think that's war. I'm saying, like, he's talking about they are going to go through worse because of slavery, because of the way that they control the world, because of the low frequency that they're trying to keep us in, because of the modified food. You know, because of the program schooled, because of the program subconscious. Too many things. And they make our parents work and work and work and work. We become completely dissociated. And then they're like, oh, I don't even know who you are. Like, when you're a teenager, I'm like, well, you've been at work so much, you wouldn't know who I am. But obviously now there's a part for them to play, because our parents have had double the chances to change and realize that this is hell. But, like the good place is actually the bad place. But if we blame them, we're never going to move past them. The point about being Joshua's generation is that is what the Bible was about. The generation who left Egypt is not the generation who makes it to the promised land. There was a 40-year gap in the wilderness. What are you doing out in the wilderness for 40 fucking years? I want a house. I want to be happy. But even as they were in the wilderness, they're like, God, you brought us out of Egypt where we had meat. Now you've made us come here where all we have is manna, which was angelic food. And for me, because God brought me back. I mean, he brought me, this is kind of like my wilderness. My manna was shrooms. My manna was weed. And he's saying, don't keep, I was like, oh, what? That's all you're giving me? Like, I need money. He's like, you need money? Girl, you need to sit down and smoke a J. You didn't even understand the spiritual practice behind doing these things. You think you're just doing it for fun. That's not true. There are things that you will never catch unless you smoke. Am I condoning smoking? Hell no. No. There's a certain, those substances vibrate on a certain frequency, and if you don't understand that, you will be consumed. That's why a lot of people, they see things, they hear things that they wouldn't have seen if they smoked, because you're not ready for that revelation. But the weed and the mushrooms would never give you anything you're not ready for. You're just not using that part of your brain that was always new. I remember I smoked with this guy one time. He morphed into this ugly, I know too many women, they morphed in, he looks so ugly. Like, I actually don't know what to even call it. It was just, all I could think was like, this is a demon. Like, I don't know what a demon looks like, because the spiritual realm traumatized me when I was little, and I was at church, and I was growing up like in a Christian church. So when I had revelations, I had nobody to share them with. Like, if I said I had a revelation about like a physical judgment day, or I saw people in a circle chanting, and it did not look like they were, doing it for the fun. It was dark. Why am I seeing this as a child? Because God has to literally show us all, and then, but because nobody's around you to explain it, you think it's all in your head, then you start like hoping. My point is, like, children, we almost drain them of their brain capacity. So by the time they're 15, you call them rebellious, but they're just suppressed. They are squashed. Everything, every dream that they ever told you, every ambition that they ever had, you just told them to dream on, or you worked. Like, I shouldn't have been going to school and coming back on my own at 9 years old. I shouldn't have. But what person did I mold into because of these experiences? I'm not the only one. I'm not. And like, how would I act with a child? Wake them up in the morning and not just open the curtains and say, well, wake up. Like, what? First of all, they would be listening to some sort of frequency music, or just something that will, help them at night. Music that I create, or just whatever music that they want. And when I wake them up, like, it will either be with like a kiss on their cheek or something, just like, I've woken people up before and I never said, wake up, like, what is that? This, man, because I already know in another reality I have a daughter. Like, I don't know where or when or how I'm gonna get to her, but I will. And like, even just being a daughter confirmed for me that I know I have one, because this ain't it. I didn't go through this for nothing. My God. They will ignite and consume. They will ignite and consume the 100 richest families as they execute divine punishment until only dry stubble remains. No one from the most wicked, not a terrorist, not, and the 3D is really gonna try and make me feel like, you can't say these things and post it on YouTube and think that like nobody's gonna like come for you. Like, in the spirit realm, they are pissed. But if I move in fear, I would never say anything. And considering how I was like really emotional at first, this is the longer videos I already know is packaged for people who would digest that, not necessarily for people who, yeah. They're just for certain people. No one of these people will survive the conflagration. So declares the Eternal One. So, the people from the southern desert will take over Britain, and those from the foothills will flood into the America's coastal plain. They will possess the fertile lands of Asia and Australia, and Africa's people will inhabit Britain. Or even Africa's people will inhabit Africa. Like, we're all gonna go back to our roots. And we think, you know, that us as black people, well, people awakened like me anyway, we're like, ugh, white people. You know, if you think God doesn't love white people, like, I don't even know what to say to you, mate. God is not one size fits all. Neither is humanity. Yes, there is a reason for their skin color and things. Like, we were all meant to be like this melanated, but to say, like, God just creates goodness out of all bad, and I've really been seeing that in my life. Anyway, the army of exiled sons and daughters of Israel the army of exiled sons and daughters of Africa will stream back home and live along the coast and possess Egypt as far as South Africa. Like, we're not just going to go back to our land, we're going to thrive in it. Do you know how many resources are in Africa? Cobalt and gold and all of that, and somehow this country's got malaria. Like Kenya, the country that I'm from, both my parents are from, yeah, every country has its rich and poor side, but the way that Africa has been painted as this poor country, you know something's wrong. You know something's wrong when the Congo makes cobalt and the people that are working there get paid £2 a day. And I remember I was talking to my friend about this, and he said, well, at least it's £2. I was like, man, I know not all white men are like this. I just know that it's the ignorance, isn't it? It's like, oh, you know, you don't have a heart for people who are suffering because you're too engrossed in your own, which I completely understand. But when you understand that we're suffering together, like Romans 8 actually changed my life. I'll break that down in another video. All of creation is waiting, yearning for the time when the children of God will be revealed. And you think that's down to religion? That's down to consciousness. You can't force people to awaken, not even black people. Like, this is beyond color now. This is who you were before you got here and what you are to do here. And the exiles of Jerusalem, yeah, and the exiles of the Middle East who live in, where do they live now? In America, for example. I'm talking about people in the Middle East who fly, who not really fly, innit? They're fleeing their home country. I actually, you know, every time I think about that, my heart just drops. Leaving everything you know, not by choice, by force. Because if you stay, you'll die. What the fuck? That's not normal. Like, and like to just be like, you know, God and repent and like, I just know you're a robot. Like, well done, you've been programmed, but I haven't. I'm speaking from revelation. I'm not speaking from information. Anyway, information without revelation will destroy you. And they will settle down in cities and villages of the South. I fully believe that every person who had to flee the Middle East will return to their homes. It will be rebuilt. It may not be that generation, but I genuinely believe there is no way that good doesn't outdo bad. Like, there's a balance to things. And if this is how bad it's getting, and the only thing we think we can do is post a sound on TikTok to raise money. I get it, but I'm also I support it. But as human beings, we have way more power than we realize. And like, I've just always had a drive to go to the Middle East, like, not on no vacation thing. Like, I'm going there to get people and giving, and like, we just all need to awaken. That's all that it is, because then you get to a higher frequency. If the whole world is on a 4, and which is not true, because there are people on 7, I don't know how far it goes, but let's say we all ascend to a 7, the world leaders that are at 4 they actually can't even see us. They can only bring us down to a 4. And I feel like since I've done shrooms, I've understood what has happened to humanity. We were born in the highest of frequencies. Even when you came out the womb, there was still a frequency that you had that was high. But yes, it's true. We have been lied to since birth. A lot of us have been rejected from before birth. But it was the 3D that brought us down, not ourselves. You know, the veil comes off when you realize it's not your fault. These deliverers will go up to Africa, my holy hill, and justly rule from there. And the kingdom they establish will belong to the Eternal One alone. And you know what's funny? Like, he said all of that and was like, yeah, just so you know, like, I want you to know it's me that did it. He didn't even say, like, worship me or die. If, like, hell, that was very much like, y'all, I got you. I just need you to know that I'm angry too, and I can't move on your behalf if you don't let me. God can't come like that. There's a protocol, man. And this is the protocol that I've been given, to just talk about him, invite him into my life. Remember what I was doing before I came here, what my divine purpose is. And yeah, I just feel like today I've received so much rest and rejuvenation, and I can't go back even if I wanted to. Even if I tried, I would be like, it would be like an elastic band and I'll push back forward again. But I feel like I'm about to hit a really high peak, and I just have to, again, thank the universe for letting me record this, because this is the realest video. This is actually the realest video. And I thought I couldn't be real, but I think I'm gonna like savor my YouTube and understand that social media will crash one day. And if we don't awaken and create our own apps, create our own technology, shit, like, oh, you know, the world is bad, and like, you know, God is just waiting for us to be like, yo, I know, let me in. But he is so loving and kind that he will show himself to you in a TV show before he traumatizes you in a dream with terror. He wants you to have just an idea. He's so, like, when I say gentle, you know how some women, like, they have sex and it's like, he was just doing. When it comes to God, like, it feels like intercourse. It feels like he starts with my head and like he kisses me all the way down. That's what it's been feeling like. Like, what do you mean, bro? Like, what do you mean you're there? I've been waiting for a face. He's like, bro, you are the face. How can you look for divine and that's your name? Like, does it need to get any more obvious? And the fact that I can say to you, I was so bitter and angry that my mother didn't listen to God and name me divine when I was in the womb, but she was going through her own shit, and it just makes my story way more real, because now you'll fully believe that you have a spiritual name, and you've had both feet in both worlds. I mean, there's actually like too many worlds, but I meant like you've had a foot in the physical and the spiritual realm. You've had a foot in your true life and the life of the 3D at the same time. So you're like, where the fuck, like, what am I doing? You're in psychosis. You're not crazy or stupid or hopeless. you're in psychosis, and that's what they want. They want to keep everybody in psychosis. They feed off of fear, make you scared of death, when death is a cycle. It doesn't, death, rebirth. Rebirth should be thought of immediately after death. So everybody that has so-called passed on, they have rebirth, they have been reborn somewhere else, reborn as someone else. Fully believe in reincarnation, but I don't think everybody reincarnates. I think there's a certain, everybody's so individual. There's a point you have to get to, and in this life, there's a height that I need to reach that required this amount of suffering. So if it means that the glory that will be revealed in me, that goodness, that those things that I could have just never ever prayed for, could have never found it in the Bible, those things that were hidden and were waiting for me, those people and events, all of that will make me forget the suffering. I want to know. I want to know. You know, people love quoting like scriptures, like God will do any, like, beyond anything you could ever ask, think, or imagine. But do you know what that means? Like, that's why I can't read the whole Bible with this kind of brain. I would actually know too much. But I'm gonna read the removed books first. I started the book of Joshua, and it was great. For me, the Bible is like a foundation, and I'll just keep referencing it for y'all in a good way, because I don't have any hate in me. Like, you would know if I was projecting from a place of hate. It's all love. And I hope you rewatch this and smoke a J or something, because I did not record this for it to be kept in my camera roll, y'all. Oh, goddamn. What a win. And whatever happens, I'll definitely make a video. My point is that the 3D responds to us. We don't respond to it. And everything is for my benefit. So I'm just gonna let God do his thing. Show himself truly as the source in my life of everything. Even my mother, me, my hair, like this phone, the Wi-Fi that I'm going to use, like everything that is wicked, he's showing me that he is there and that he wants to do shit different. And yeah, if I don't have to labor for that, if I just have to be positioned for that, become the version of me who already knows that these things exist and there is an unseen realm, and me being lied to doesn't make sense when, I mean, the 3D is filled with deception, first of all. So, you know, I don't really have nothing to lose, honestly, considering I didn't think I would be alive today. I ain't got nothing to lose, y'all. Nothing. And yeah, I'm just very happy and content. I feel like I just did a shroom trip. Like, this is my regular life now. Like, I don't even know what I'm gonna experience and know and see and hear and feel on shrooms. I can't wait. But I'm not gonna think, I'm finally no longer thinking about how. I'm just like, here I am. They're waiting for me. I'm waiting for them. And I feel great. I hope you feel great too. And I know this gave you hope for today. Stop thinking about tomorrow. Think about today. Yeah? Okay. Bye, y'all. I'm like, yes! I finally talked about the deep things. Yes! You don't know how much I've been itching to have conversations like this. Oh, but I feel so good. It was such a good build up. Oh my god, I'm setting it up so nice. Bye, y'all.